We are going to present you different social classes.
Lower classes, aristocracy, and middle classes.
Let's go!
Firstly, there is 4 different social classes. We have first the social class, aristocracy, which is represented with the royal family, spiritual lords, and temporal lords, and great officiers of the state. That is to say, Duke, Marquess, Earl, Viscount. They have many activities, for example, reading, playing games like chess. The aristocrats could also afford education. Private tutors were often hired to teach advanced material, and the number of books available to them were endless. At home, they have servants and lot of food. Then there is the middle class, which is represented by some skilled workers. Their money earning as much as aristocracy, and they are education good. They live well and are not in bad condition. Then there is the class social, the lower class, which is represented by workers which are paid very little. They work in factory bad condition and living in street. They don't earn well they live. Then there is the social class outlaws, which is not really a social class because it represents the person out of the law.
At first, I am going to present you the characters on Oliver Twist. Mr. Brownlow, Fagin, Sykes, Mrs. Bedouin, Sally, Mr. Sowerberry, and Mr. Bubble and Mrs. Bubble. Mr. Brownlow was a old man. He was to the middle class. He was got a baldness and he was a mustache. Mr. Brownlow was a shirt, and on a shirt he wore a long coat. He was the richest. Fagin was a old man. He had a beard, had tone. He had to be a member of the social class of the poor. He was also unlicensed to clothes. He was sad, but Fagin was very mysterious. His beard and hair was salt. Sykes was a man, a young man with a hat and a jacket. The mage he was in the outlaws. Mrs. Bedouin was an old woman with grey curly hair. He was in the lower class. He was desperate or sleeping. Sally was a young girl with curly hair. She wore the dress. She was in the lower class. Sally was a prostitute. Mr. Sowerberry was an old man. He was glasses or shirts. Short hair. He wore a shirt with a black jacket. I think he was a writer because he had a book in front of him, so maybe belonged to the middle class. He was happy. We can see bearing him picture hung on the wall. Mr. Bumble and Mrs. Bumble are married. They are old. The woman was dressed in black with a bonnet because the maid servant. Because she was a tea towel on her hand. The man wore a red jacket and blonde shirt. It's a coat home. He was a hot on his head. He, they are middle class.
In first of all, I'm going to show you how distinguish the social class. Fagin is he's in the lower class because from watching his clothes is torn, their bare end is torn, and beer and hair is dirty. Then for the Mr. and Miss Bumble, they are middle class because I can see that his or dresses in very well, which is consumed and the hat then of its ends he do party and middle class. For Monsieur Strawberry is make left the social class of the rich, which is an old entrepreneur of the pump is Gary Poliver and the jacket. Sally is poor and the prostitute. See Duco that it is on the prostitute is get dressed good, but she is poor. Then she is the lower class. Mr. Mrs. in Mrs. Brownlow, his innkeeper, the lower class social. Mr. Brownlow is aristocracy and is very respectable looking elderly gentleman. Skyt is the lower class because his desk is dirty. It is criminal in Franklin gang.
Charles Dickens. Charles Dickens, John Hugham Dickens, was an English writer. He was born on 7th February 1812 and he died on 9 June 1870. Charles had a childhood at the normal. His family part to middle class beginning, but his life turned to the poverty of night. He leaves the school because his father has two debts and his family became more poor. In 12 years, Charles' father is arrested and he finds himself used on a factory as a shoe shine boy. We find this moment of his life in Oliver Twist. Some months later, his father is free and Charles gets to come back to school. Some later, Dickens became a writer famous. He is inspired by a moment of his life. He taught difference of the middle class because a lot of pain. Dickens will die from an IVC and on June 1870, 58 years, and his memory will be created on her name.
I represent how Polanski represents the reality. Polanski is a filmmaker, Polish and French. He is a scriptwriter, movie producer, actor, and director too. He got 4 times the César of the best filmmaker, with particularly Oliver Twist. Charles Dickens has written Oliver Twist in 1837. This story tells the life of the orphan. In this movie, Polanski used different techniques for present the social classes. First, he films the scene more height for the middle classes and the aristocracy, and less height for the lower classes. Secondly, the middle classes and aristocracy had valuable objects, chandelier, closet, who proven that they are rich persons. Moreover, the lower class haven't got a beautiful house. Finally, the lower class have not smile and they are not clean and the face wrinkled, contrary to of rich social class, who have clothes and high quality and they are clean. Polanski as shoes describe the social. class because he thinks there are many different and he wants to change the society.